You don't feel broke because you're irresponsible. You feel broke because life quietly became more expensive without you ever agreeing to it. Everywhere you look, there's an option to make things easier, faster, more comfortable, and almost every one of those options costs a little extra. Not enough to hurt today, but enough to slowly change how expensive your life feels tomorrow. That invisible cost has a name, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. This video isn't about cutting joy, becoming extreme, or living like a monk. It's about understanding one simple rule that silently taxes your money every single day. If you learn how the convenience tax actually works, you'll start seeing why your expenses keep rising even when your lifestyle hasn't changed that much. And more importantly, you'll learn how to reduce pressure on your finances without feeling like your life is getting worse. Picture a normal weekday. You wake up tired, already late, and the idea of cooking breakfast feels like too much. So you grab something on the way. It's only a few dollars more than making it at home. Later, work drags on longer than expected. You're mentally exhausted, so instead of cooking dinner, you order delivery. The food costs more, the fees stack up, the tip feels unavoidable. That night, you open an app to relax. A subscription you barely remember signing up for quietly renews. $10 here, $15 there. Nothing worth stressing about. The next day, your phone battery is low, your schedule is tight, and walking feels inconvenient. So you take a ride instead of public transport. It's faster, it's easier, it costs more. None of these decisions feel reckless. They don't feel like mistakes. They feel reasonable, even smart in the moment. That's the problem. Because the convenience tax doesn't announce itself. It doesn't show up as one big expense you can clearly point to. It hides inside moments when you're tired, busy, stressed, or distracted. Each choice feels small. Each one feels justified. But over time, those small upgrades quietly reshape your cost of living. What used to be an occasional convenience becomes the default, and what used to feel affordable slowly starts to feel tight. You don't remember choosing a more expensive life. You just woke up inside one. And that's how the convenience tax works in the real world. The convenience tax is the extra money you pay to avoid effort, waiting, planning, or discomfort. It's not a real tax. No one sends you a bill for it, but it's just as real as rent or groceries. Every time you choose faster over cheaper, easier over intentional, or comfort over effort, you pay a little more for the same outcome. Not once, but repeatedly. Once you understand the convenience tax, you start seeing it everywhere. It shows up in food first, paying extra to avoid cooking, paying delivery fees to avoid waiting, paying for speed instead of value. At first, it feels like a fair trade, money for time, money for energy. Then it spreads. Transportation becomes about comfort instead of cost, rides instead of walking, parking closer instead of cheaper, shortcuts instead of planning ahead. Digitally, it's even harder to notice. Auto-renewing subscriptions, premium features you barely use, small monthly charges that feel invisible. Each one feels harmless. Individually, they are. But the convenience tax doesn't work in isolation. It works in layers. A few dollars per day becomes hundreds per month. Hundreds per month become thousands per year. And suddenly, your lifestyle feels expensive, even though you don't feel like you upgraded anything. What's dangerous about the convenience tax is that it slowly raises your baseline. What used to feel like a treat becomes normal. What used to feel optional becomes expected. And once convenience becomes the default, going back feels like deprivation. That's when people get confused. They look at their income and think, I should be doing fine. But the problem isn't income. It's that convenience quietly absorbed the margin. The convenience tax doesn't make you reckless. It makes you comfortable, until comfort becomes expensive to maintain. Here's the part most people misunderstand. The problem isn't convenience itself. The problem is what convenience does to your decision-making. When life feels busy or overwhelming, your brain isn't trying to save money, it's trying to reduce friction. Convenience feels like control. It feels efficient. It feels responsible. But psychologically, something subtle happens. Each time convenience removes effort, your tolerance for effort drops. Waiting feels harder. Planning feels annoying. Doing things the slower way feels unnecessary. So your brain starts defaulting to the easiest option, even when the cost keeps rising. This isn't laziness, it's conditioning. Your brain learns a simple pattern. Paying more equals feeling better faster. And once that pattern is established, it spreads beyond money. You avoid difficult conversations. You delay uncomfortable decisions. You choose short-term relief over long-term leverage. That's why the convenience tax isn't just financial, it's behavioral. The more convenience you buy, the less resilient your decision-making becomes. And the less resilient you are, the more you rely on convenience. It's a loop. Not because you're careless, but because convenience trains you to expect ease. Breaking that loop doesn't require discipline, it requires awareness. Because once you see how convenience shapes your behavior, you regain the ability to choose effort when it actually matters.
The real cost of the convenience tax isn't the money you spend, it's the flexibility you lose. When convenience quietly absorbs your margin, your life becomes more fragile. Small problems feel bigger than they should. Unexpected expenses feel stressful instead of manageable. Opportunities feel risky instead of exciting. Not because they are, but because you don't have room to absorb them. Convenience narrows your options. You stop having space to think, space to wait, space to choose. Instead of planning ahead, you react. And living in reaction mode slowly changes how you see the world. You begin to avoid uncertainty. You avoid changes that might temporarily disrupt comfort, even if they could improve your life long term. A course feels too expensive. A move feels too risky. Time off to reassess feels irresponsible. Not because these are bad ideas, but because convenience already claimed the buffer. The convenience tax doesn't just make life more expensive, it makes it less adaptable. And adaptability is what protects you when life shifts, because life always does. Without flexibility, every change feels threatening. Every surprise feels like a setback. Every decision feels heavier than it needs to be. This is why people feel stuck without knowing why. They're not failing, they're constrained. And the constraint isn't visible on a bank statement. It shows up as pressure, hesitation, and constant low-level stress. That's the invisible cost most people never calculate.
The solution isn't removing convenience from your life. That would make everything harder than it needs to be. The solution is stopping convenience from being the default. Instead of asking, what's easiest right now, you start asking, is this worth the extra cost? That single pause changes everything, because convenience becomes a choice again, not an automatic reaction. Start small. Choose one moment per day to accept a little friction on purpose. Cook one simple meal instead of ordering. Wait instead of rushing. Walk when it's reasonable. Not to save a few dollars, but to retrain your decision-making. At first, this feels inefficient, slower, slightly annoying. That's normal. It means convenience no longer controls the outcome. Over time, something shifts. You stop needing comfort to feel in control. You become more patient, more intentional. And when convenience stops draining your margin automatically, your finances start feeling lighter, even before your income changes. This is where the convenience tax stops being about money and starts being about identity. There are two versions of the same person. One version designs life around ease. They optimize for comfort. They remove friction whenever possible. Life feels smoother day to day, but fragile underneath.
The other version doesn't reject convenience, but they don't depend on it. They can tolerate waiting. They can plan ahead. They can accept small inconveniences without feeling stressed or rushed. That difference compounds. The person who always chooses convenience needs more income just to stay in the same place. The person who can accept effort creates margin. Margin of money, margin of time, margin of choice. From the outside, it looks like discipline. From the inside, it feels like control. They're not constantly reacting to their environment. They're deciding. That identity changes everything. They're less anxious about money because their life isn't built on expensive defaults. They adapt faster when things change because they're used to friction. And over time, they don't feel trapped by how expensive life has become. Not because they earn dramatically more, but because convenience no longer dictates their baseline. That's the quiet advantage most people never see.
Think of the convenience tax like living in a house with automatic doors. At first, the doors feel amazing. They open instantly, no effort, no waiting. So you start expecting everything to work that way. Then one day, the power goes out. Suddenly, opening a normal door feels frustrating, heavy, unnecessary. Nothing about the door changed. You did. Convenience works the same way. The more you rely on systems that remove effort, the harder effort feels when it's required. Paying extra to avoid friction trains you to expect life to be smooth, and when it isn't, you feel stressed, impatient, and stuck. The problem isn't that convenience exists. The problem is forgetting how to operate without it. People who never pay the convenience tax all the time don't feel deprived. They feel capable. Because when friction shows up, it doesn't surprise them. They've practiced handling it. And that's why convenience becomes dangerous only when it's constant.
Here's a simple challenge to make the convenience tax visible. For the next 7 days, do one thing differently. Every time you're about to choose the easier option, pause for a moment. Ask yourself one question. Am I paying for convenience or avoiding effort? If convenience genuinely saves time you can't afford to lose, choose it intentionally. But if it only exists to remove mild discomfort, wait. Cook the simple meal. Take the slower option. Plan instead of rushing. You're not trying to optimize every decision. You're trying to notice patterns. During this week, something interesting happens. Some conveniences stop feeling necessary. Some urges disappear entirely. Others stay, and you'll see them more clearly. By the end of the week, your life won't feel harder. It will feel more deliberate. Because when convenience stops being automatic, you regain control over where your money, time, and energy go. And control is the opposite of feeling trapped.
Life doesn't feel expensive because you're bad with money. It feels expensive because convenience quietly raised your baseline. The convenience tax isn't obvious. It hides inside ease, speed, and the small upgrades that feel harmless. But once you see it, you can choose differently. The real lesson is simple. Don't let convenience decide what your life costs. When you control convenience, life starts feeling lighter without needing to earn more.